Hello and welcome to the Patty Pod, episode 10. We did it. Double digits, baby. It took a little more than I thought it would to get to episode 10. I guess I feel like I've always got things to say, but, I try to make it, try to just choose the best. I try to kill my babies, as some writer said. I want to say it was Faulkner or somebody like that. Speaking about the editing process, not everything you think, I guess, or everything you write is the greatest. I always try to edit a little bit, so it's taken a little more than I thought, but here we are, and I'm glad to be doing it. Thanks for listening. So it's Sunday, and I am hanging out at home. We're coming to you live from the bedroom. It is Sunday, January 22nd. I've turned my bedroom into a bat cave. I bought the blackout curtains. I finally did it after years of talking about it. Years of kind of threatening Kate that I was going to do it. And she was against it for a long time, but eventually she said okay. And so I did it. I think I got the idea from, hotel rooms, those blackout curtains, which I found to be quite delightful. We live on a busy thoroughfare here in Brooklyn, one of the two main thoroughfares, other than the interstate that rings the borough. And I grew up on a quiet little street in a residential neighborhood. So I'm kind of not used to it, even though I've lived in cities, bigger cities, since I was 18. So having these blackout curtains helps me sort of deal with that. And I finally got the curtain rod up a couple of weeks ago. In an earlier episode, I talked about my tribulations attempting to mount the bracket, I guess it is, that holds the curtain rods in place. It's tough in some of these old buildings with their plaster walls. I was never very good at it. Never very good at using the stud finder. I listened to a guy on a podcast last week talk about how he thinks most guys must make the stud finder joke where they turn it around on themselves. And I think I did that the first time I tried to use a stud finder with Kate. You have to. You do have to. I hear people objecting, saying, no, you don't have to. But no, you do. It's a must. And so anyway, never been good with the stud finder. Had trouble with this one. There were no studs. It was just me trying to get some screws into the wall, and wasn't using the proper bit size, I think is what it was. I've never had good luck with those anchors, those wall anchors. Had no luck with it this time. But eventually I I broke a drill bit off in the wall because I was trying to kind of round out a hole to get it the perfect size for the screw. And didn't get it to go. But this last round, a couple weeks ago, I ordered myself a new drill bit set, and I got it, and I was proud. I'm apartment handy, as I mentioned to my parents the last time I was there, and I was kind of trying to help them fix something. I'm just handy enough. And it all came about because I had to be. Especially my biggest project was when I was first a graduate student and I lived in New Jersey. And I found this place that was, I was engaged to a woman who was also a graduate student, and we didn't have a lot of money, and we were looking at places. So we didn't have a ton of options, but we found this one place that was midway between Princeton, New Jersey, where she was going to school, and Manhattan, where I was going to go to school. And it needed a lot of work. And the woman she had a lot of floral wallpaper. She's probably 70, the woman that lived there. She was a single lady. And she was just kind of a sweet old New Jersey lady. And she had a lot of wallpaper with floral designs on it. And there was a border to the wallpaper that was intensely floral. And she had taken another border, excess border, and she had cut she'd cut out some of the little flower designs, and then she had taken those and glued them up at the top of the ceiling, or at the top of the wall, up into the ceiling, and then kind of back down as if it was sort of like a vine growing up on the ceiling and then coming back down the wall. That was a lot. I had to try to figure out how to deal with that. I remember it was not water-based glue. It was something else. It was oil-based glue, which meant that I couldn't score it with this little tool you would sort of make a circular pattern, and it would make little cuts into the wallpaper. You can do that if it's a water-based glue, and then you do something to the wallpaper and you just pull it down. But if it's oil-based or something else like that, that little method didn't work. So I learned that through trial and error, and then I realized I had to just paint over everything. But it was a meticulous process. And but the biggest surprise, I don't know if I didn't see this when I looked or I just didn't compute in my head. Probably just didn't compute in my head. But she had wall-to-wall carpet in the bathroom, in this little bathroom. And it had been there a while. So that means that I had to get it up. Pardon me, I'm going to take a sip of my decaf coffee. It's evening time here. And I think I mentioned my routine, decaf every night. I did brew it before the podcast started because, as I mentioned previously, I'm a professional. In any case, it's wall-to-wall carpet in the bathroom. I remember thinking when I kind of, after we bought it, I guess, was when I really realized this has to come up. This might be 35 years old, and it's discolored around the edges. Well, I'd never, if I had taken carpet out of a place before, but there was hardwood underneath it, and I think I just Murphy oil soaked it, and that was it. This time, there was nothing but concrete, and it was unfinished. It was kind of sandy when I pulled that rug up, or that carpet. So there I was staring at this sandy, unfinished concrete floor in the bathroom, not knowing what I was going to do. It was mid-July, and I had about 6 weeks before school was going to start full-time. And I think I had some student loans, so we were kind of living off that. And I needed to fix this bathroom floor. So I got a quote from a contractor. It was way more than we could afford. So off to Home Depot I went. Yours truly, fresh out of college, armed with a philosophy degree. The most manual labor I'd ever done in my life was probably carving the initials of my high school group's nickname, the HPP, into my front lawn with my lawnmower. That's about the extent of my manual labor. A little bit of vacuuming in the backyard, maybe tightening a screw or two, or vacuuming in my room, I should say, and tightening a screw or two on my bicycle was kind of about it. So I go to Home Depot and I find a dude, this wacky young dude. He was probably 23, 24, and he was the most helpful guy. He kind of counseled me. He gave me the encouragement, which was as important as any of the other information that he gave me. And he was just sort of walked me through how to do this. I decided I was going to put some tile down. He convinced me I could do it. So I got some tile, had to make some measurements, got some tile, had to cut some of the tiles, as I found out, because, you'll get a couple, if your floor will be 4.5 tiles wide or 4 3/4 tiles wide. So you got to cut that last column. You got to make all those pieces, half pieces or 3/4 pieces. So, it actually wasn't that hard. You just mixed a little cement, you laid it down, and then you place these tiles on top with these little spacers between it. I remember this all because it was such a challenge for me and so foreign to me at the time. You let it dry, and then I think I kind of washed it down, and then you put the grout in between the tile lines. And my measurements weren't great. There was not a lot of space between the tiles, but it was just enough. So it worked. And in the process of doing all that, I had to take the toilet out and put a new toilet in. And that was easier than I thought it would be. That was actually just like lining some like wax cylinders up and then just a couple of screws. And connecting the water. That was, so anyway, I did all that, and I was pretty stunned that I could do that. And then I just had to like put some light fixtures in and change some doorknobs, and I had a crew put in new carpet. But it looked good. I mean, I must say, the place looked good. It was a small 2-bedroom condo in a pretty boring suburb of New Jersey. But the interior looked pretty good. I did kind of a mid-century thing, and I did it all myself. So that gave me, I think I got, it was like a video game player, a gamer, as they say. See how with it I am? And that unlocked a new level for me. It was like level 1 apartment handy. And that's where I've stayed. But that's all I've needed to be. And so that's led me to, I painted my apartment this summer, which was kind of actually satisfying. There's this thing on the internet they call, I think it's ASMR, which is, it's a term for things that are kind of like pleasing to the senses. When you watch videos that have this designation, they show things like, I don't know, a Zamboni going over an ice surface, or somebody sanding down a rusty pole or something. It's just something that's kind of satisfying. So painting the summer had that feeling. It was nice to work. I think the thing is, when you do work that's, non-physical, very rarely do you have a sense of something being done. I remember when I worked in the digital world, it would kind of joke about things being like the status we would give, the various little tasks, because there was like 6 stages of done. And so you kind of have something that's done. And even when we got there would always be, things cropping up, and you could always do things. There's always more you could do. And of course, I think that's true for a lot of people's job. And I'm sure when you work in, construction or engineering as a job, you probably have that feeling too. But when you're doing your own chore and you work with your hands, it can be really satisfying, because you have at least for me, I have clear-cut goals for when something is done, or clear criteria for when something is done. And with my apartment, it was paint these surfaces, and once they were painted, I was done. Coffee break one more time. Give me 1 second. Okay, so that was fun. And then I got these curtains up, and now it is the Bat Cave in here, which I love. I tell you, I thought maybe it'd be too dark, and I need a little bit of light. I've had a few moments in my adult life, which is kind of embarrassing to admit, but I've had a few moments where I've been in a pitch black room in a hotel, or even at my parents' house one time, and I've woken up in the middle of the night and had no clue where I was, and like panicked, jumped out of bed, found my phone, turned my phone on or whatever. I don't know what it was, but it was like, it felt like I was blind. And I had that in a hotel 5, 6, 7 years ago one time. It freaks me out. So I thought maybe I wouldn't like it, but I love it. It does feel like the Bat Cave. And so that's where I am. So this week was a pretty good week. I played 3 games of hockey this week. My knee is still sore. My hips are still sore. I think because of that, something's happening to my hamstrings. I really need to just stretch more. It's a little bit better than it used to be. My elbow's a little bit sore. I'm just noting that, I get sore. It's, I think more than I did, but it's not that bad. So I'll take it for sure. But I'm just getting little glimpses of what it must be like to deal with an injury, a chronic injury. And oh man, that must be the worst, especially if it keeps you from doing something you love. I hope I never experience that. Anyway, I played 3 games this week. It was fun. One of my friends who I play with in the spring mainly, I don't play with him in the winter. He's in the other group, but he got put into my game this week, so that was fun. I got to see him. We chatted a little bit. He's a really chatty guy. He's a bright guy. Makes documentary films. Really nice guy. So it was fun to see him. He gave me a ride to the rink. And back, that was fun. I went and played. We got a Saturday game this week, which was huge. I was able to convince enough people, or they convinced themselves. And we had 12 people there, which is somewhat rare. It's in this rink by the Brooklyn Bridge. So I was stoked about that. And then today I played again. I didn't know if I was going to play because I was feeling sore and fatigued last night, but I did, and I'm glad I did. It was fun. Fun game today. A lot of players, some young guys, good pace. So I was feeling pretty good about that. We're back into the swing of things. I feel pretty good about where we're at with my class. We are cruising along. It's midwinter. This can be the doldrums sometimes, but I'm feeling okay. I had a few moments of, getting in my head, ruminating, which is my least favorite thing in the world. Probably when I start going over something too much, it's usually about something that I didn't do or whatever, some perceived problem. But I've learned to just kind of say I'm just shelving this for now when I feel myself getting too down a rabbit hole. And it's been good. I've actually been good about that, being like, I'm just going to set this aside until I'm thinking clearly again and feeling more normal, and then we'll revisit it. And that almost always works. So I had to get into some of that mode this weekend, but I got into that mode, and I was really grateful for that. So this week I was talking to the music teacher at my school, and we were just catching up. I told him about the Vikings loss and about the bet I made with my brother, and how I have to say that he's a smart guy next year at Christmas. And he was right again, which is going to be, I should stop saying it. I don't think he listens to this podcast, but I just don't even want to put it out. I want to forget about it, and I'm hoping with his advanced age that he forgets about it. So we'll see. But anyway, I was telling the music teacher at my school about this, and we just got onto the topic of bets, and it brought up a story about one of my buddies who's a big Pittsburgh Penguins fan. His name's EJ. And I'm a Rangers fan. I think I talked about how I adopted them in a previous episode. And the Rangers were playing the Penguins in the playoffs a couple of years ago, probably 10 years ago now. So we decided to make a bet. And the bet was that the loser had to play a full day or full game, which is usually 2.5 hours of roller hockey on the corner of Houston and 6th Avenue, where we used to play, in nothing but a Speedo. And if you know that area, that is the border of Greenwich Village and Soho. It is a very fashionable area. A lot of tourists, a lot of shoppers, a lot of good-looking people looking good, walking around. It's kind of like where you go when you come to visit. It'd be definitely one of the neighborhoods you would go to, nice restaurants, celebrities in the neighborhood, that kind of thing. So it just happens to have it's actually like a baseball diamond and a half-court basketball area kind of merged into one, as New York City does it. There was kids that played Little League there, which I felt sort of sorry for these kids because the whole thing's asphalt. They have just painted a baseball diamond on the infield, essentially, and then they kind of attached a little basketball court off the back of the outfield. And the whole thing's asphalt, and that's where kids would play Little League, which is like, I don't know. I just, there's no diving for the ball in right field, I wouldn't think, if I was playing on asphalt. But it was perfect for roller hockey until it started to deteriorate. But we played there all the time, so that was a spot where this game was to be held. So the deal was that if the Rangers lost, I was going to have to play in a Speedo. If the Penguins lost, he was going to have to play in a Speedo. Well, the Rangers won that first game, or that first meeting that we had when we were friends in the playoffs. So he had to wear a Speedo. So I picked out a nice blue Speedo, and I got on the butt of the Speedo, I got screen printed the I Heart New York logo, but instead of saying on the heart part, I superimposed my face, a picture of my face, and then instead of it saying NY, I put the Rangers logo on there. So he had that on his butt. It was pretty good. He, for some reason, agreed to get dressed. Well, maybe it was the only place he could. We had a friend that lived on 9th Street, basically between 5th Avenue and 6th Avenue, a really fashionable neighborhood. And he put on his gear, put on shin pads, his skates, the Speedo, and gloves. That's all he had on. And he had to skate from this guy's apartment, from our buddy's apartment, down 5th Avenue into Washington Square Park, which was at the time filled with people. It was a beautiful spring day, late spring day, absolutely filled with people. We heard him called slurs in Spanish, and just, we saw lots of kind of mouths agape and wide eyes, and people laughing and pointing and stuff. And then he played a full day in just that get up on the corner of 6th and Houston with all sorts of people driving by and walking by. So that was that. I had a great time with it. Got a lot of pictures and videos. Those went all around to all the guys that play hockey. And it was great. But a few years later, the teams met again in the playoffs, and he insisted that we have the same bet. And of course, I can't back out of this, right? Like, he did it to the full extent. He didn't back down at all. He didn't welch, as he would say, which has got to be politically incorrect, but I don't think the Welsh care to raise a point about that. But he didn't welch on his bet, and so I certainly couldn't deny the bet, right? And the next time, so I agreed to it. Well, wouldn't you know it, the Rangers lose in the second go-round. So now I've got to wear the Speedo. Well, he's living in LA at the time, so he comes back to New York at the appointed time and shows up with the Speedo. What he pulled out was kind of in the shape of a Speedo. It was black, and it was that kind of short, the sort of the briefs sort of thing. But the top third or half, maybe, of the front was mesh, which was basically semi-transparent, if not transparent. And I'm like, dude, what is this? He said, he went to some store in Hollywood. It was something called it was like Gerald's or something. And their tagline was the gayest store in America. And he said that, I was like, dude, this is not a Speedo. This is lingerie. But he claimed that, he said, no, man, I got it in the swimwear section. Kept saying that. I got it in the swimwear section. Nightmare. That's what my hockey nickname is out here. So, this guy didn't back down when he had to do it. So I kind of felt trapped. I think I even looked up the decency laws in New York City to see, if I could get a summons or not. And I think I probably could have, because you can only get away with any kind of nudity if you're basically performing in some kind of artistic production. I think it was Equus was the name of that play that Daniel Radcliffe did. Full frontal nudity. It was a spectacle, but I don't think I would have been I wouldn't have gotten away with claiming it as a performance art piece. But, so there I am, down on the corner of 6th and Houston and 6th. And, you could see lots of things, especially if when you play hockey, you kind of, you're bending over a little bit, you're leaning forward. So I was told that people got a good look at the family jewels, the whole package. So I was mortified, but I went through with it. And the next day, we all go back. We're in our normal clothes now, our normal gear. And this little old Italian lady, she comes waddling over when we were taking a break, and she was like, "Were you guys here yesterday? There was some sicko." And she was like, "There was some sicko, and he was wearing basically nothing." And we were like, "Oh no, no, real." We're like, "Oh," we said that we blamed it on the French. We said, there's a guy from France that plays, and listen, the standards are different over there. The standards are different. So we kind of talked her down from filing a complaint, but that was a little bit this week about bets and the tough one that I had to endure. I got to Trader Joe's, which is something we do every 6 weeks and something I really love. I always get a little pizza when I'm there. That's kind of my treat. I mean, the cakes and the cookies and some of the other pastries that I buy are also treats. Let's be honest, but there's no shortage of treats for me in the pantry and in the freezer. But I get a treat, and then I buy myself a pizza when we're there, a margarita pizza, and that's my dinner that night because we buy 6 weeks worth of food, and we just our cart is overflowing, and when we get home, it takes forever to put it all away, and Kate doesn't want to cook then at that point, so we always have pizza. That's kind of a fun part of it. And so we get there, it's kind of picked over because it was a Friday night, and we didn't want to go Thursday because it was raining, and we have to go from the Trader Joe's into an Uber, and then it's this whole production living in an apartment building. We have so much stuff that we basically get out of the Uber and we pile it on the sidewalk, and then I run into the building, and thankfully we have these shopping carts. And so I pull the shopping cart out of the basement of my building, go to the sidewalk quick and fill everything up. And then I just roll this thing through the basement onto the elevator and then down the hallway into our apartment. It's pretty slick, but it's a whole operation, and we didn't want to do it in the rain. So we go on a Friday, and Friday's notorious that people are coming after work, getting stocked up for the weekend. And I think people can leave work on Friday a little earlier. That's kind of part of it. But so we have this mountain of food, and it's kind of picked over in there. And I get to the pizza section. There's no margarita pizza. There's nothing. There's not even the 3 cheese. There's not. There's nothing but the fake, the vegan meat lovers, which is gross. I've had it. It's fake meat stuff that's bad, like most fake meat. And then they have some olive artisanal flatbread. And Kate's all "Oh, this looks great." She always likes that stuff because she's I used to call her a food contrarian, which is being nice. I think I elevated that to food snob or food hipster because she never just likes the normal basic American food. It's always got to be some twist, just like in this situation. But I think I've upgraded her even more to food terrorist. That's really what she is. And this was a perfect kind of food terrorist thing. We'll just get the flatbread. And I'm like, no, I'm not eating all of flatbread. I want cheese and tomato sauce on my pizza. I mean, come on. So, I'm crestfallen, basically, at this point. I've been looking forward to this all week, and I'm kind of just trying to put it back together to finish my shopping, get through the rest of it, and then I see there's a lady unloading some gyoza into the frozen section. There's somebody unloading some, I don't know, some other kind of frozen food, with masala or something like the TV dinner. And so I'm like, maybe. I'm looking at all the boxes, no pizza. I'm like, damn, struck out again. But we're about to leave, and on my way out, I'm thinking to myself, I'm thinking maybe I should just grab somebody and ask them. So I grab a worker. I'm like, hey, is there possibly any frozen pizzas coming out? And he was like, what are you looking for? I'm like, margarita. He's like, he goes over and checks. He's like, not sure, but looks like these guys might have some. Go ask them. And I asked those guys, and they're like, yep, right here. How many you need? And I'm like, oh my God, can I get 3 of them? And he's like, here you go. And I was like, I'm like, you made my night. And I was so happy. I was just effusively thanking these guys. And then finally we get on the line. As we're going over to the line, I see the first guy that I talked to, and I thanked him. I pulled him aside. I'm like, thank you so much, man. I just couldn't stop thanking people. So anyway, we get to the checkout, and the woman's like, her eyes are all wide. She sees us coming because we have this mountain. We have 2 shopping carts, and they're like full. And at one point she asks us if she said, "Is this for your home?" Like you might be running a small business, filling up, like having a party or something. Anyway, so you recall that I've now gotten it from the food shaming from my mom, from Kate, and now the lady at Trader Joe's. So I said I was taking it from all sides, getting incoming from all sides last week. It most certainly is happening this week. One other thing that happened this week was I was listening to a podcast, and they're talking about butt dialing this fall. This is the Patty Pod language corner. That's the portion of the episode that we've got to. And I was like, listening to them talk. There was this like quiz show on NPR called Wait, Wait, Don't Tell Me. And they read these, there's this one segment where they read 3 different kind of passages that are supposed to be news items. One of them is real and 2 of them are fake. And this one was about the worst butt dial ever. And it was basically what the fake one was that this kid butt dialed the police as he was in the middle of like Fortnite or something, some video game, and he starts talking to his friend in the room saying, I killed 2 people already. And so the cops didn't know what was going on, so the cops raced to his house. And anyway, but when they were telling this thing, I was like, it's not butt dialing. I think we all know that. Like, you keep your phone usually in your front pocket, most people, I would say, or your breast pocket or your coat pocket or something. And for whatever reason, the screens get activated when they change an angle, and some app gets popped up and something hits it, like your thumb hits it or your thigh hits it or whatever, and then you call somebody. Like, that's got to be how it happens, right? Like, who puts their phone in their back pocket to sit on? Doesn't make any sense. But I think we all know that. But the idea of your butt dialing is so funny to everybody. That your butt's like, boop, 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 your little butt cheeks pressing on the little buttons. That's so funny to everybody, or so like stupid and silly that we all just go and call it butt dialing, even the people at NPR, which I actually love. I think it's great that we all do that, and I hope there's more of that in the world in the future. That's it for this week. Peace and love.